Okay, so carrying on from the rhythm video, I want to spend a little bit more time on rhythm because rhythm is such a key element to music. If you are struggling to stay in time, if you're struggling to count, then the melody you're going to try and play or the strumming you're trying to do is going to be all over the place. You've really got to have a good understanding of where the beat is, and particularly if you're playing in a group. So I want to talk a little bit more about rhythm and some of the notation that you're going to experience. We looked last time at whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, and eighth notes. Right? That's what they look like. They're equivalent rests. So for an eighth note, the equivalent rest looks like this. If there's the stave, it looks like that. If you see one of those, it's effectively an eighth note rest. A quarter note rest, as you saw in the last video, looks like that. A half note looks like a little rectangle sitting on the middle line like that. And a whole note is a rectangle hanging down from the second top line. So, excuse my crappy drawing, but that's roughly what you're looking like. All right, so that's the notation for rests. And I just want to clear something up as well, that when I talk about a quarter of a bar or 2 beats, etc., etc., I'm trying to simplify this for beginners, for ukulele players who are going to play, generally speaking, in 4/4. Now, what does 4/4 mean? I spoke in the last video about a lot of the pop music you're playing is going to be have a feel of 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. It might be 1 2 3 4 or 1 2 3 4, all sorts of different emphases, but essentially it's going to be sort of 4 beats in the bar. You might get some 3 beats in a bar, you might get some 6s, but most of the time it's going to be 4 beats in the bar. So everything we're sort of saying here is applicable to that sort of 4 beat in a bar thing. How do you know that there's 4 beats in a bar when you look at a piece of music? At the beginning of the music, you'll see a number like this, the beginning of the stave. It might say 4/4, it might say 3/4, it might say 6/4, it might say 6/8, 12/8. There's all sorts of combinations of numbers that you might see at the front. This is the key to how many beats there are going to be in each bar. So if we look at our previous example of quarter notes and 4 of them in a bar, if we think about these numbers as representing the bottom number representing the kind of note that represents every beat, and the top number representing how many of those beats in the bar, then it starts to make a bit of sense. So if we've got quarter notes, which looks like that, if we have a time signature at the front of our music that is 4/4, this bottom number here is equivalent to that. So it means that every beat in this bar is going to be a quarter note. Every time you count 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, that's going to be the equivalent of a quarter note. How many of them? That's the top number. So in this case, we're going to have 4 equivalent beats of a quarter note length each in every bar. If we had 3/4, we would still have quarter notes, but we'd only have 3 of them. They should be blobs. And in 3/4, it's really important that that first beat is accented. That little greater than, less than, whatever sign is actually an accent. It means a bigger pulse on that first beat. So 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3 would be waltz feel. And then let's have a look at one more, which you might come across, is 6/8. Think Leonard Cohen, Hallelujah. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now the 8 represents eighth notes. So we're going to have these little fellas. And how many of them? We're going to have 6 of them. So that represents a bar. Now typically in 6/8, you would group these into 2 lots of 3. So we'd get rid of those little tails and we'd join up 3 like that. and you get that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A main beat here, a sort of secondary beat on 4, if you like. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It actually has a feeling of 2, but we subdivide it into 2 lots of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Think of etc. Alleluia. Okay, that's the 6/8 feel to it. Okay, so they're the key and sort of basic time signatures and beats that you'll probably encounter as a beginner. So one of the fundamental things that I mentioned in the last video was tapping out rhythm before you play the melody. Now, that can be as simple as a scale. So we've looked at eighth notes, quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, all that sort of stuff. If I'm just looking at a plain scale now, and I've got 4 beats in every bar, and each beat represents a quarter note, then to tap that out with my ukulele, it's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I apply that to a scale, a C major scale of quarter notes, and I talk through the rhythm at the same time as I'm playing to help me with the rhythm, it's going to be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I wanted to make those into eighth notes and have the same beat, so still 1, 2, 3, 4, but make every note an eighth note, then I'd go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I really do recommend that you try and tap out, say out loud the rhythms, put the ands in there if you need to, and then at some point stop saying it, do it in your head, and hopefully things start to become a bit more automatic. And that's it for rhythm.